episode 177 of the Concealed Taco Dudes podcast. Woo! Yeehaw!
All right. So today we have me, Taco,
and Jason with Concealment Solutions. We've got some interesting news stories
and some good listener feedback.
Okay, that will take up the bulk of our show. So let's knock out our sponsors really quick. NOE Bullet Molds at noebulletmolds.com, the finest bullet molds in the universe.
And if you want to save a few dollars on those finest bullet molds in the universe, use coupon code FLT001.
Yep. We also have Black Ice Coatings at blackicecoatings.com. Gun finishes and hydro dipping, Teflon coating, all kinds of stuff. I have a beauty fresh from Black Ice.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It does look awesome.
We'll talk about that when we get to what we did with guns. But check out Black Ice Coatings if you need something personalized. I like my stuff to be unique, right? So I like taking my stuff to Lee and getting it hydro dipped or Teflon coated or Cerakoted, and they do incredible work there. So go check them out and call them up and tell them you want it slickery. We have Utah Air Guns at utahairguns.com. They're gearing up for the RMAC Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge. If you haven't checked that out, if you're local here in Utah, at least go watch for an afternoon. It's pretty cool to watch and see what's going on. But they give away over $100,000 in prize money.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a big deal. It's an international event, and I don't put that lightly. They generally have representatives from almost every continent.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's pretty cool. But go check them out at utahairguns.com. When you buy something, check out and use the code AIRCANDY. You'll get free shipping and free turret stickers.
I was going to say, just to add to that, I did get out and shoot my crown. I wanted to make sure, getting ready for a squirrel hunt coming up, now the spring weather and stuff.
Right.
So I was shooting, and I had the target set up with, the paper wasn't there, but I had the thumbtacks from that were left over from setting up the target. Yeah. And so I decided I'd just take a few shots at those. And I was 5 for 5 on blasting the thumbtacks. So now I need new thumbtacks. But yeah, it's still sighted in and still accurate as
nice.
Crazy accurate. So.
Nice. They've got a lot of really cool new stuff, so go check them out. Magholder at magholder.com. Horizontal magazine carriers. Super comfortable, super convenient. Made right here in Utah. Go check them out at magholder.com and use the code GETINTHEVAN-I-HAVE-CANDY when you check out, and you'll save a few bucks there. Concealment Solutions at concealmentsolutions.com. Lots of holster options. And if you don't see what you're looking for, chances are I can make it for you. So feel free to reach out with an email or text message or phone call. And if you have questions, I'm happy to help you. Always working on new stuff. I've actually got a fair number of custom knives in my case now in my little showroom.
Nice. I'll have to swing by and take a look.
There's some nice stuff in there. I've got more BPS knives on their way. So if you need a knife sheath, I do lots of knife sheaths, lots of holsters, anything Kydex. So go check us out at concealmentsolutions.com. Use the code SHOWMETHECANDY and you'll save, I think, 15%.
All right.
So that might be a record of how quick we went through our sponsors.
I tried to keep my mouth shut. So
Nice.
Let's start with listener feedback.
Okay.
So
go for it. What do you got?
We have one from Richard L. and he said, Taco, what do you use to fill your primer tubes? I saw you mention it in a video a while back, and I can't remember what it was. Thanks. Been loading all day and so tired of loading primer tubes one primer at a time.
Oh, gosh.
Just picked up a new Marlin 357 mag in 1894 and cast and loaded up a couple thousand to try it out on Sunday.
Nice.
Super awesome. So, the primer filler that you're looking for is the Vibra Prime. So, vibrator for your primers to load up your primer tubes.
There you go.
And it's made by Frankfurt Arsenal. And that one, I think I might have mentioned it before, but mine works totally fine. Some primers that are like slightly bigger, or maybe if they're not quite as precisely made,
not as quite in spec.
Yeah, they might hang up, and so you can kind of polish the inside of the tube, the filler tube, and so they exit out easier. Next one and this one is B.A. Miser, and so I just thought we'd just shorten it to BAM.
Okay.
So this one's from BAM. Thought I would share this with you. Utah National Guard Recycling Program finished processing California National Guard spent brass. 3 semi-tractors full. It arrives in 55-gallon barrels, is dumped in a machine that burns it, ensures spent up to 50 cal, and crimps it. The stuff of reloaders' nightmares. I had to share the pain.
Huh.
So they just waste it. It's so...
Are they at least recycling the brass, or are they just...
burning it? I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's such a wasteful thing. Like,
yeah,
the government could get money back by just selling it to the reloaders.
Right.
It's like a win-win. But
yeah.
Anyways, our tax dollars at work.
Yes.
And this one is from Jim V. And he says, Biden was kind enough to send me a self-addressed prepaid envelope for his victory fund. I stuffed it full of little cards that come with all my gun magazines for subscriptions and mailed it to him. Hope it helps him. Prepaid. Nice. This one's from Kevin C. And he says, Jason, thanks for another story time. I really enjoyed the accounts of dangerous men. I had heard of Jelly previously, and the watch shop owner was a total bad A.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts.
That's Lance. I can't remember his last name now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He was pretty impressive.
And he continues and says, thanks for another episode. Glad to hear you're feeling better. You're talking about the New York subway vigilante. That's literally the plot of the movie Death Wish, set in the 1970s when crime was so bad in New York City. They did a remake recently.
Huh. That was Charles Bronson, I believe, in Death Wish.
Oh, was it?
I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Was that the 19...
Yeah, that would have been the old one.
Okay. And we got one from Carson from Canada. And he says, first off, in true dude fashion, it made excellent radio testing the trigger for the show. Testing the pistol triggers last show.
Yeah.
So
we have another one to test.
So here is where Jason's new revolver might be worth fixing up. Our market here in Canada. If it can be verified that the gun was manufactured before 1898, then it would be classified as an antique here and wouldn't require a license to purchase. A person might also be able to carry it while hunting. So Jason, if you ever want to sell it, please talk to me first. Have a great one. So
it would take a lot to fix it.
And it would take a lot to
and it would depreciate it. And somehow, on top of that, I think
somehow send it or sell it to someone in a different country.
Yeah, that would be tricky.
That's like I don't know, maybe it's not that hard, but I think it would.
I would think it would
hard,
be, especially to Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
But yeah, it is 1889. That's I'm certain about that. But
that's crazy.
Yeah. But
so anyway. I still, man, I would not shoot that thing.
No, I'm not going to. It's
if you value your hands and face,
it'll find a home in a shadow box on the wall someday.
Yeah,
when I get around,
it'd be cool for that.
Building that, yeah,
it's a really old gun.
It's a cool piece of history. So
should we hit what we did with guns first then?
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, what'd you do?
My daughter and I finally put her AR together. And this was, so it's just chambered in 5.56. Typically, I like 5.56 because it gives me the option to shoot .223 also if there's ever ammo shortages or issues like that. I have options. But yeah, it was dipped in red roses, so it's flat with red and black with red roses. And I just gave Lee the whole box of parts, and I'm like, I said, we just want red roses. aside from that, you do whatever you want. And he did gold Cerakote on a lot of the features. So it's a side charge upper. So the
gold accent.
The side charge lever is gold. The
crush washer's gold.
The crush washer's gold. The gas block is gold. The mag release, the safety, the castle nut, and I like to use the Magpul single point sling mount on
the end plate.
The end plate, yeah.
That looks good.
But it does. It looks really nice. The trigger that's in that, I actually bought for myself, and when we got to putting it together, I was too lazy to... I'm like, I have a drop-in trigger. I'm just going to put that in it, so I don't have to... Not that putting a standard trigger in is difficult, but it's not a drop-in, right? So there's a company that I have a dealer account with that I bought a lot of these parts from, and I can't remember.
It's not bad.
It's a 3.5. Did you feel the reset? Feel the reset on it. It's a 3.5 pound competition trigger is what they called it.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty good.
And I can't remember. There was another brand that they had that I was familiar with, but I can't remember what it was called now.
How much did that one cost you?
That one was $70.
$70.
And it looked identical to the other branded one, but this was like generic. And I'm like, for 80 or for $70, I'm like, I'll try it. And I mean, we haven't shot it yet, so durability and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it feels really good.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you try other fancy triggers.
Yeah. I have a Geisley in mine.
Yeah, you'll probably notice a difference.
Yeah.
But as a step up from the mil-spec triggers,
right,
that's a big step up.
It's a big step up, and it wasn't a huge investment. So.
Yeah. I actually I got one of the new Palmetto, one of their match triggers or target triggers.
Yeah.
And I think they sell them for about $90.
Yeah.
$89.99 or something like that. So I ended up picking up two, one for me and one for my buddy. We were putting together his AR.
Put it in yet?
I have not yet. We built his AR. And so I got to test it in that. We haven't fired it yet, but it's a 9mm AR-15.
Oh, okay.
And so those are sometimes tricky with finding compatible triggers. Right. So the Palmetto, the PSA trigger, says that it is compatible with their 4th gen PSA BCGs. Okay. And so we decided we'd take a gamble with it and just, buy it, try it out. If it doesn't work, we'll throw it in a different gun.
Right.
Both of us.
Right.
And because I wanted to upgrade the one I have in my 9mm AR, so I figured, yeah. But that one feels pretty good.
Yeah.
And for the $1, it's like, it makes it really hard to spend on something a little bit
There's a lot of stuff
nicer.
coming out now that, I mean, when I built mine, the Geisley I put in, I'm almost certain it wasn't a drop-in. And it was like $250. And it feels great.
Yeah. The Geisley ones...
But at the same time, when I compare it to a stock trigger that's kind of been fluffed and buffed and cleaned up, the Geisley's better. But it's not like $200 better.
Well, the other thing is that some of those nicer triggers are coming down in price to compete.
Right.
So one of my favorite brands, I have two favorite brands of triggers. I like the CMCs. And I like the Timneys.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything Timney that I've tried has made me happy.
Yeah.
And so if you're
to be said there.
If you're gonna judge a product by like how it makes you feel, then the Timneys have not let me down ever.
Yeah.
And
they've been coming down in price too.
Yes, they have.
So.
Some of their AR triggers are, if you find them on sale, you're looking at like about $100, $120, somewhere around there. And it's like, if you could have the nice one for that price, it's hard to not upgrade your triggers. Yep. I think I just have a few ARs now that don't have like drop-in triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
As I find them on sale, I buy one.
Yeah.
and then find out which gun I want to put it in. But it's amazing what a
good
trigger can do.
Makes all the difference.
And then, but it also ruins you, because then the next time you shoot a gun that doesn't have a good trigger in it, then you're like, oh, it makes you a snob.
Yeah.
And, I picked up one of those 22-250 AR-10s from Bear Creek.
Uh-huh.
And I know I got it cheap,
Right. It was a budget gun.
Yes, it's a budget gun, and I know what it is, but I think I'm going to drop in a trigger into that, because when I was sighting it in, it's like, when you're sighting it in, you're paying a lot of attention to your trigger pull to make sure that, you get those holes punched properly in the paper.
Right.
And I don't know, you feel a little bit of take up, a little bit of grit, and you're like, oh man, I need to replace this.
Yeah.
Whereas that one Target 223 or 5.56 rifle I built, the one with that huge, it's like 24-inch bull barrel from what's their names? I forget. Anyways, custom barrel, and I threw it. I think it might have a CMC or Timney, one of those.
Right.
And that thing is so much fun to shoot, and it's so accurate, and everything about it's so nice when you shoot it. And anyways, so triggers make a big difference. So is that all for you?
Pretty much. I've been playing a lot with knives lately.
Oh, cool.
But nothing new to report there.
Nice. So I have a new purchase I gotta announce.
What did you get?
Because I got that one 22-250 AR-10, then it's been itching at me that I don't have a bolt action rifle.
22-250?
Yes.
Okay.
I have an extra scope waiting for it, and so I found a good deal online. It was at guns.com, I think.
Yeah.
And it was weird because the gun was like labeled. It wasn't labeled as a Ruger Predator. It just said Ruger American. But then if you click in the model number, then it was the Predator.
Okay.
So usually the Predators cost a little bit more. It's got a little bit thicker barrel and threaded and stuff.
Right.
But so I got it cheaper. And so I actually need to just pick it up today.
Yeah.
Because spring break had me dropping into canyons and wading through mud and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I'm going to pick that up. And I already have a Magpul stock, the Magpul Hunter stock waiting to drop it into.
I've got that on.
So I got the scope, the rings, the stock, and it should be awesome. I do want to, depending on how I like it. If it shoots good, maybe it will deserve like a nicer trigger, like we were talking about.
Sure.
But yes, I did that. I also helped my friend build his 9mm AR.
Right.
And we used a Spikes Tactical lower, 9mm Glock lower, and just, it turned out pretty good. Now, UTG, you kind of hear that name and you think cheap Chinese, whatever. But they have their Pro series of parts, their line of parts that is made in the USA, and it feels better, looks better.
Yeah.
I built a couple rifles with those handguards, and I actually like them.
Yeah.
And so they have it's a really skinny one. And it turned out awesome.
Nice.
So.
I've seen UTG stuff that's been decent.
Yeah, it's just got that kind of
it's got the stigma.
The stigma behind it, kind of like Tapco did for a while. Like cheap Tapco stuff.
Right.
Back in the day. But then Tapco actually made some really good AK triggers.
And I think it might just be a situation of the business is maturing and
their processes are getting better.
But
I mean, they still have their cheap
products.
Their cheap stuff, but it's kind of a newer type of line of, people want high quality sometimes, not just the cheapest thing. So anyways, oh, and I got my 20 practical AR-15 barrel. So I haven't built it yet. I'm thinking about taking it out of that, it's like a battle-worn gold bronze or whatever.
Yeah.
Thinking about taking that one apart and then putting it in there.
Oh, okay.
And, keeping, because I have a CMC flat trigger in there.
Nice.
So everything is nice on that rifle. And so shooting a 20 practical, which is a 223 neck down to 20 cal. So it's kind of like a baby 22 250 or like a 204 Ruger that's just a little bit shorter.
Okay.
So anyways,
nice.
I've done that, and then I did a little bit of shot shell reloading.
Oh yeah.
I still haven't
tested. Shot anything yet?
I need. Well, okay. For those of you who are not located in Utah, this is how Utah weather's been this whole spring.
Cold and wet.
No, it's like when Tuesday or Wednesday you get this nice sunshiny day and you feel like it's almost summer.
Right.
And then you're like, oh man, let's go shooting this weekend, or let's go do.
You start making.
So you make plans. Okay, hey, call it buddies. All right, we'll go shooting on Saturday. And then Friday rolls around and it's like your cell phone beeps with like winter weather storm watch.
Storm warning.
Yeah, and then it snows or rains or both, and or wind and snow and rain. And
this weekend was super windy.
It's crazy. It's been like that for how many weekends in a row?
Oh, it's been a very cold, wet spring.
Yeah, even my front lawn is sloshy.
Yeah.
And you walk on and it's like sloshy.
Yeah.
So it's been difficult to get out and go shooting. And then, I mean, we've had our youth group, the 16-year-old boys. We've had a shot shell, clay shooting activity that has been rescheduled 3 times.
Yeah.
And so finally we didn't reschedule it. We're like, we're going to do this.
We'll just wait.
But we're just going to wait until the weather can get better. And if it doesn't get better before, we'll just take shotguns along our week-long activity and just pack up the clays and the shot shells. And that's the cool thing about shotgun shooting is that you don't have to bring steel targets.
Yeah.
You can just bring a couple boxes of shells, a couple boxes of clays. And then take it with you and just go out to the desert or whatever.
Yeah.
So we might be driving those down to like the St. George area and
nice. I'll be down south this weekend. We've got our spring training camp for the mountain bike team, and I'm looking at the weather and it's supposed to be in the mid 80s, which is gonna be miserable on the other end of the spectrum when your body's used to like 40 and 50 if you're lucky, and you jump immediately into 83, 85 degrees, it's going to feel like it's 110.
Yeah. Also, speaking about weather, like this last week was spring break, and it was freaking amazing. Like, for me, not for you.
Yeah.
So we had planned our trip that we were going to take, and to go down to the St. George area and hit a couple canyons before we go visit a relative in Vegas. And it was, so on Tuesday we did Yankee Doodle Canyon. Yeah. Then we did it like in the afternoon/evening. And what was nuts about that is the previous time I've done it, it had a lot of water in it, which was not normal. Yeah. And this time was even more.
I was going to say.
So the canyon looked
so wet.
It looked different because there were pools and puddles where it was dry before. And another thing that was interesting is that you don't notice it, but there's like a moss that grows on that the slick rock or the sandstone, and when it is slightly damp, it is very slick. Yeah. And so there were, a couple spots where it's steep rock and you just kind of sit on your butt and slide down. Or surf down or whatever. Right. And those are like, it was a lot slicker and faster. And on the exit, it, is kind of about sunset when we were exiting the canyon. Yeah. But I totally missed the exit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so maybe time of day plus, I don't know, I could blame it on whatever. I can't say
anything, I've done that on an epic level before.
And so I was like, this is looking way different. And so finally I checked my GPS. I'm like, oh, sorry guys. We were supposed to turn around back there. So, but previously I had it's the exit. Have you done that one? It's kind of a steep rock face.
It's like slick rock?
Slick rock, yeah. Okay. And previously, I just ran up it. Yeah. And I tried doing that this time, and it was like not... I ran up about halfway, and then I just started slipping, so I had to like climb the rest. And then everybody else, they were using their hiking sandals. And they're struggling to go up that rock face. And it was just interesting because of that moss.
Yeah, I don't
on
go
the
into
rocks.
the canyons without sticky rubber on my feet.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, been doing lots of fun outdoorsy stuff.
I wish I had. We've tried.
Yeah,
We
Jason
tried.
went up and
Went up the day before. The road was virtually impassable because it was so wet and muddy. So we bailed. Drove 4 hours in the morning. Left at 5:30. Drove 4 hours. Decided it wasn't. The other car wasn't going to make it to where the trailhead was.
yeah, and that was
And so we barely got out and drove into Zion and did a half a mile hike and then drove home
that
for 4
sounds-
hours.
well.
The weather was absolutely beautiful.
It was amazing weather, but
Zion was so packed. It's like reminds me why I hate.
it's
National
Disneyland.
parks.
Yeah, it's Disneyland for
Other than
outside.
you go into Zion and it's like you said, like Disneyland, chaotic lines everywhere, and you get your permit and then you go into a canyon and it's like this pristine,
It's
empty, beautiful place.
yeah, it's amazing when you. But yeah, so we did a couple canyons. And
Yeah.
it was good for the soul, I tell you.
I did a lot of. Well, I worked all spring break, other than a couple of things. Ran out and did a few things with the family, but nothing super exciting.
All right, what do we got for news?
Okay, news. First story, I'll just kind of breeze through this one. It's a very short one, but what it boils down to is in St. Louis at 2 p.m. on a Friday. Actually, I think this was last Friday. 2 p.m. on Friday, St. Louis. A naked guy, breaks through the wall of somebody's apartment
What?
and is threatening to kill them. It's some guy and his family. And the victim was treated for a shotgun wound to the hand. I'm thinking you shot at him with a shotgun and you only hit him in the hand? In an apartment?
So the perpetrator,
is naked, breaks through the wall.
and he gets shot in the hand?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
not
the
the
homeowner
victim.
shot him.
Okay, not the victim then.
Right. Anyway, that one was just unusual. The next one is a good one, and it's close to home. Happened in Murray, Utah, which is, about 40 minutes from here. Police believe an attempted carjacking in the parking lot of a Murray fitness center led to the shootings of both the victim and the man accused of trying to take her car. At 10:45 p.m., so not super late, Wednesday, Murray police were called to an EOS fitness parking lot where a report of shots fired. When officers arrived, they learned that it was an attempted carjacking where the victim and suspect both received gunshot wounds. A woman in her 20s was shot in the abdomen and taken to a local hospital in critical condition. A man, also in his 20s, got into another car after being shot and before police arrived, but was later, in quotes, dropped off at a local hospital with a critical but stable gunshot wound to the chest.
Critical but stable?
Yeah.
Are those contradictory words?
A little bit. Well, yeah. I don't know.
Because you're
I'm
either
not in the-
critical condition or stable condition.
You can be
Critically
stabilize,
stable?
You can stabilize a critical condition. That's fair. But anyway, and I'm just thinking, well, she got the better shot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she got hit pretty bad too. Investigators believe the woman was the victim of a random carjacking attempt. Few details about what transpired in the parking lot have been released, but police say 2 weapons have been recovered. Why the man picked the victim or her vehicle to take remain under investigation. Although police said the man who was shot was dropped off, again in quotes, at a hospital, Murray police spokesman Kristen Reardon says detectives believe they have identified everyone involved. One woman said she had talked to the woman after she had finished a swimming workout, and as she was leaving the locker room, the woman heard a loud sound and then saw the victim on the ground. When I came out, she was lying on the ground and she had obviously been super wounded.
Super wounded?
Super wounded, the witness said. Yeah.
All right.
That's a term.
Stable critical wounds and super wounded.
The only thing we we were hearing was that we didn't know where the shooter was. Some people had thought they ran in, some thought they ran out. So another witness told KSL TV he was working out when he heard 3 gunshots. So kudos to her. It's very easy to do something like go to the gym and leave your gun behind. So not only did she not leave her gun behind, but she had it accessible when she left the gym. So I don't know if it was on her person, if it was in a gym bag or whatever, but she used it effectively. Maybe she wouldn't have got shot if she hadn't pulled her gun. It's hard to say. But anyway, I wanted to read that one just because I wanted to bring out that point, that in a situation where most of us leave the gun behind because it's inconvenient to have it, she didn't, and I think it proved to be worthwhile in having it and being accessible. This one is very interesting. So this takes place in Memphis, Tennessee. The man who got shot at the Walmart in Cordova last Friday spoke out about what happened inside the store. Fox 13 spoke to Lamont Granberry hours after one of many surgeries he'll need after being shot 9 times.
Dang. Wait, 9 times?
He was shot 9 times in a Walmart. Tamaris Hopkins, the man police arrested for the shooting, faced a judge Friday morning. He was right there and in the section where you go into the place. So, yeah.
That sounds like me trying to tell my wife where to go.
So he hits his girl in her face. She started saying she don't want to take this anymore and she deserved better. So we turned around, just out of curiosity, saying, "What's going on?" Granberry said. This is Granberry talking, the person who was shot. So they're walking into Walmart, the place where you go in.
The place where you go in to the go in, whatever.
Yeah. And behind him, he hears somebody get punched in the face, and the woman who's punched is complaining. Yeah. Rightfully so.
I don't deserve
this. You're a piece of crap, whatever. He turns around to see what's going on. Granberry said after seeing Hopkins punch a woman in the face, he just wanted to make sure she was okay. Good man. He said the gesture was followed by a punch to his face from Hopkins. You should have seen that coming. He said after the punch, Hopkins began shooting him.
Oh, dang.
So he turns around, says something, whatever. He gets punched in the face, and then the guy starts shooting him. Granberry's 7-year-old son was within arm's reach when the shooting started. I mean, he's continuously shooting like he was really trying to kill me. My son had enough smarts to run away with his uncle, and I was blessed that he didn't get hit, Granberry said. Granberry said he went to the Walmart to get charcoal for his grill with his 7-year-old and his brother-in-law. In court, Hopkins told the judge he got fired from his job the day of the shooting. No kidding? So, Hopkins is a Walmart employee.
Huh.
The lady that works there says he's the new hire here at Walmart. They were in the process of firing him, but he had his Walmart vest on. So I know he was a Walmart employee, Granberry said. So basically, the greeter at Walmart's beating up his girlfriend and then shoots this guy. That's how I'm seeing it.
Something like that. That's nuts.
Granberry says Hopkins shot at him 15 times.
So he unloaded the whole...
He emptied the magazine, basically. 9 of those bullets hit him. So he shot me in my feet. My foot was literally dangling. But the Lord bless me, I did not lose my leg. Oh, my point. Oh, he shot me and my femur.
Oh, jeez.
He shot me and above my pelvis fractured. He shot me in my right knee. That bullet came out, Granberry said. So he's got some pretty significant injuries. His shot in the pelvis, shot in the knee, the femur, his foot's dangling. Previously reported that police said Hopkins and Granberry exchanged gunfire. Granberry said this. He says, "Yeah, I had a firearm on me, but I didn't have it engaged. I just left home, didn't feel I needed to have something in the head. And that's how he was able to shoot me, and I wasn't able to shoot back.
Oh.
So, the reason I wanted to read that story is because I know
people carrying without one in the...
People who don't carry with one in the chamber. And they always, it only takes me a second. Look how fast I can do it. I don't care. I don't care how fast you can do it. You could be in a situation where it's not fast enough. And this is the perfect example of that. Guy's walking in, not thinking anything, seeing a woman getting roughed up and is, wanting to make sure she's okay. And all of a sudden he's getting punched and shot, Yeah. There's situations where if you aren't on top of it and aren't fully aware of what's going on around you, you might not even be able to get to your gun, even if it does have one in the chamber, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, all of you who aren't carrying with one in the chamber, this is your call to reconsider your tactics. I'm not going to tell anybody that they have to carry with one in the chamber or don't carry at all, because I don't agree with that either. But rethink and train and practice. The first day that I carried a gun, I did not put one in the chamber because you're a little nervous, you're a little anxious, you're certain everybody knows you're carrying and all this stuff, and you're self-conscious and you just want to be safe. And that whole day I was thinking, every cop out there carries with one in the chamber. Every gun out there is, at least modern guns, okay? If you're carrying an old Russian World War II pistol, that might not be the case, but every gun is designed to have one in the chamber safely, where it cannot go off unless the trigger is pulled.
My revolver always has one in the chamber.
Yeah.
All five of them. 5 chambers.
Yeah. Yeah. So after thinking that through, I was just like, well, I'm being silly. If I'm not comfortable carrying the gun the way it was made to be carried, then maybe I need to rethink everything, right? And so that was the only time I ever carried with one not in the chamber. Now, depending on your state and your circumstances, like here in Utah, we have constitutional carry, but if you don't have a permit, you can't carry with one in the chamber.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked at how many people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just because you can carry in your state without a permit doesn't mean you don't need to understand the law.
Yeah.
And there are typically restrictions. Granted, there aren't a lot in Utah, at least, but there are restrictions. There are things you can't do that you can do when you do have a permit. So
yeah,
be aware of that.
Yeah, be aware of that, and know the law. Know what you can and can't do, and if you go to a different state, make sure you research what the law says over there too, because stepping across an imaginary line can quickly turn you into a felon.
Our Utah concealed carry permit is I think the most widely accepted concealed carry permit in the country, or it's at least one of them.
One of them, yeah.
But
some of the reciprocity has changed.
Right. And so you need to keep up on that as well.
Yeah.
But just because another state recognizes your permit doesn't mean that it recognizes it in the same way that your state recognizes it.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have different laws. Here in Utah, a no guns sign on a storefront or at the movie theater or whatever does not carry the weight of law, which means they can tell me we don't want guns in here, that guns aren't allowed in here, and if I go in with my gun on me and for some reason I get discovered, I haven't broken any law.
I think is it trespassing?
If you don't leave.
If you don't leave after they ask you to.
So if you go in, let's say you go to the movies, and for whatever reason, management finds out that you're carrying, and they're like, our policy is no guns, this is a gun-free zone, you need to leave. If you don't leave, you're now trespassing, which isn't a big deal anyway.
As serious.
But in other states, by ignoring those signs, you've committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just because it's not a crime in the state where my permit has been issued, doesn't mean it's not a crime in another state, because you have to follow that state's laws, even though they recognize your concealed carry permit and allow you to carry concealed in their state with that permit. You have to obey their rules and regulations.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of responsibility on the person carrying to be aware of the laws and to follow them. Because if you don't, I didn't know isn't going to hold up in court very well.
Yeah. Everything's getting so weird now too. It's if you go to California and
just don't.
Yeah, just don't. I keep telling my kids, sorry, we don't go to California. But no, like it's just interesting because as more and more crime gets decriminalized, then like it makes you wonder, like, well, can you just carry a gun and then be grouped in with all the people who commit crimes anyways, and they just let you go?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be the exception because you're one of the good guys carrying a gun?
They'll make you an example.
Yeah. You're carrying the gun to protect yourself, not to inflict, some kind of crime on someone else, because those people are real victims, and so we just let them off. But if you're carrying it to, protect yourself, then
you really should have
be able to do that. Anyways, I mean, the world's going nuts right now.
It is.
They're going crazy. Like,
it absolutely is.
The news, everything, find out what's going on, and it's all the more reason to just be prepared.
Yeah.
The old scout saying, Boy Scout saying, be prepared.
Yeah.
And like that, it's more and more true. Like crazy things are happening at a regular rate now. So, the whole you can't predict crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you can't predict it, but you can be a little bit more prepared for it.
Yeah.
And even in the, quiet towns, sleepy towns, weird stuff's going on. So,
and be prepared. On the note of being prepared, it is time for your semi-annual...
Change your batteries?
That, and to go through your 72-hour kit.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure, if you've got kids, make sure the clothes you have in there for your kids actually fit them. That's we always would do, when my kids were much younger, we would do a fashion show. They would have to put on the clothes that were in there, and none of them fit, because they're growing so fast. And it was like, okay, well, that one doesn't fit you anymore, but that one will fit you, so we just move it on down the line. And
So here's a question about that. What do you keep your 72-hour kits in?
So...
Or otherwise known as...
The bug-out bag.
Bug-out bags or go bags, whatever.
So, it's different when you have a family than if you're just preparing for yourself and maybe a spouse or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my family is much smaller now, so I've only got 2 kids at home now, and one's looking at leaving sooner than later, which is fine. She needs to...
A slow launch?
A little bit, yeah. There were some technical difficulties. But, so we have bags that have our basic stuff in it, but then we have a 5-gallon bucket that we keep the majority of, like, the food and a stove and stuff like that in. But I also, in my vehicle, that's for, like, my personal bug-out stuff, I just keep it in my vehicle, and that's where it lives. Now, food items and stuff like that gets tricky because the temperature changes and stuff like that. They can go bad really fast. I have, I think, 1 or 2 like freeze-dried meals that are in that kit, but other than that, there's not a whole lot, and that's why there's the bucket with the food.
Meals. Yeah. So you grab the bucket and then grab your bag. And then go.
Yeah.
The buckets are nice because that's a way to transport water.
Right. It serves a few different purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got water filtration and stuff like that.
In the bucket?
In our... I don't know if it's in the bucket or if it's in my kit in my car. So, like, my personal stuff, most people will have it in, like, a backpack or something like that. I don't keep mine in a backpack. I keep mine in a tote.
Okay.
Because, there's contingencies, right?
Yeah.
So, if I have to get out of town, my vehicle is the vehicle we're taking. Because it's got high clearance, it's got 4-wheel drive. So, if the weather's super bad, if the roads are torn up, whatever... That's a more capable vehicle than the minivan. That's trying to die anyway. So I figure it just lives there, and I can't tell you how many times I have used stuff out of that just on a road trip, or we're out mountain biking somewhere. I mean, we've been out mountain biking somewhere with the team or whatever, and someone will come out of the pit toilet and like, there's no toilet paper in there. And I'm like, here, I got a roll. Here you go. You know?
Yeah.
Because I had that kit sitting there. So things like that have come in handy. But I do have an ultra lightweight, like collapsible day pack that I keep in there also. So if something happened and I had to
like
keep moving on foot, I can transfer 90% of that stuff into that.
Yeah.
And be good. And I keep an extra pair of boots in my car. Actually, I have an extra pair of cycling cleats, because sometimes I get to the trail and I forgot my cleats, and I had to ride once on my clipless pedals with sandals.
Oh, geez.
That was horrible. I did 12 miles, and my feet were like curled when I got done with the ride.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's one of the things I think, you know, with the preparedness and stuff. Like, if there are specific activities that you normally do,
yeah,
then, you know, the likelihood of a crazy disaster, I mean, it's getting higher and higher all the time.
Right.
But the likelihood of that happening versus, like, you're going camping and, you know, you need matches or a knife or something,
you
or
forgot
toilet paper.
your fire starter or something.
Yeah. You should have those types of items in your go bag or your vehicle.
Right. Or both.
Both, yeah.
You know.
Prepare for the stuff that is a more common, you know, mistake or need, and then also be prepared for the big, weird craziness.
Yeah. And so I have Costco every now and then. I think they're Eddie Bauer or something like that. They're not down, but they're like the puffy blankets with like the nylon shell over them. I have 2 of those that just live in the back of my 4Runner. And then I have a quilt that I actually made myself that is heavy duty material, and that stays in there too. And we've pulled those out at races. I mean, we race in the fall, and so we've had snow, we've had rain, we've had extreme heat, we've had everything, right? And sometimes we're driving 3 or 4 hours to get to the venue, and the weather's going to be completely different there. And sometimes we'll get there and it's like wet and cold, and it's like, okay, you know, we're usually prepared for that because we look at the weather before we go.
Yeah.
But we're dealing with junior high and high school kids that aren't so bright sometimes. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled those blankets out and wrapped up some kid that just got off the course that's cold and wet and doesn't have anything to change into, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, here, wrap this around you.
Yeah, there were these, a while back, Midway USA had a sale on some Browning sleeping bags and blankets. And the blankets it's kind of similar. It's got like that sleeping bag type material, like a little bit of weather resistance. And it's a poofy blanket, not down, but it's poofy. And so we keep those in my vehicle and my wife's, and we've pulled those out several times. Yeah. And they're just handy.
Yeah. And they don't take up any space. They didn't cost anything hardly.
They compress nice and small.
Yeah. So stuff like that is great to have. But we ought to look at doing some more prepper.
Yeah, we haven't done
anything
one
on
of those
prepping
in a while.
a long time. If there's a subject regarding prepping that you would like to hear, Taco will do a whole bunch of research if you let him know what it is.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I like talking about prepping, and it's good for me. It gets me refocused. I haven't focused on it in a long time, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, go through your 72-hour kit, refresh the food, all that stuff.
Also, change your batteries on your optics if you have a concealed carry that uses batteries, as well as if you haven't refreshed your carry ammo in a while, like over a year or 6 months, you may consider doing that. Yeah,
I don't worry about that so much as long as you've kept it dry.
Yeah, sometimes if it's in a hot vehicle, then in the summer.
My guns don't live in vehicles.
Yeah. Well, you are your own boss. When you have a different boss and there's a no weapons policy, then those have to remain in the vehicle. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode.
We will wrap it up. Thanks for listening. So subscribe and share the podcast with your friends.
Stay safe. Have fun.
Take somebody shooting and be nice to